Where do those people go to the bathroom? I'm just looking at you for a change. You're looking at me like something's going to happen. What was the temperature out here in the valley today?
High, 90s.
Something like that. I saw a bumblebee backing his stinger into a popsicle today. Anyway, this is the Tonight Show, the 60-minute late-night program that comes to you on the NBC network. We are in the city of Burbank, in the San Fernando Valley, in Southern California. I want you tourists to know exactly where you are when the next disaster hits. Did you make a trip into Hollywood? How many of you come to California and then want to go to Hollywood? Yeah. It is not your normal little village. It's a strange community. Where else in the world would you see a nun driving a Mercedes with a personalized license plate that says, God's gal? And while you're in Burbank, I like to plug Burbank because it's a nice, friendly community, and it is. Now, with that, I start to zing them, right? No, it is. Yeah. They have a lot of fine restaurants out here that most people don't know about on Burbank's famed Restaurant Row. My favorite new Mexican restaurant. Have you been there?
No.
Opened just a couple of months ago. Pepe's Bismol. You'll know you're in Pepe's because over table they have a giant piñata filled with Tums. After the first course, the head waiter fires a starting gun for the men's room. It is a weird place. How many of you took the NBC tour today? That's one of the highlights. The way I keep track of the inflation rate in this country is to keep asking the audiences what the tour is today. When we first came out here 10 years ago, I think the tour was $1.25.
Right.
Now, what is it? What do they charge now?
$3.50.
$3.50? They ought to be ashamed. But today, if you took the tour, Friday is the big thrilling day. That's when they have the changing of the parking spots. No, they go out and they change the names on the weekend anchor team. Today, I think Trish Toyota became Cynthia Allison. And that's a very big move out there. Have you seen my parking spot? Yeah, I know. So never heard of a parking spot getting applause. Yeah. Today, some wise guy installed a whoopee speed bump in front of my parking spot. It's kind of a slow news day. In Beverly Hills, there's a street called Rodeo Drive. It's probably one of the most exclusive streets, certainly one of the most expensive. They had a fire on Rodeo Drive today. True. Yeah. You ever seen the Beverly Hills Fire Department? They don't have a Dalmatian. They have a poodle with a little leopard coat. Fireman ran into Gucci's and yelled, "Where's the fire?" And the clerk says, "I have a customer." No, don't. Yes, they would. It has come from the heart. You don't feel that it was sheer there. There was some interesting news about our sister network. Well, not our sister network, I guess our rival network, CBS. Apparently is having some financial problems. They're cutting back on their personnel, including the series stars. And true, if you look at Dallas Tonight, you'll notice the Jeffersons are working as domestics for JR. It is particularly bad in the news department. CBS had to cut back on the pine tar for Mike Wallace's hair. You know who I'm going to hear from, don't you?
Yes.
Mike is very sensitive about that.
Very.
So I should say right now, to the best of my knowledge, Mike Wallace does not dye his hair. What he does, he bleaches his face. So the hair looks a little darker. I don't know. But CBS must be having their problems because I turned on the news the other morning and Charles Kuralt was on the road hitchhiking. Now, concerning the George Brett controversy about the home run which they gave him back, I guess, after the pine tar bat, Billy Martin proved today that he was really a good sport about that whole affair. And to show there was no hard feelings about the incident, Billy Martin sent George Brett a new bat. The bat flew out of the box and bit Millie... something like that. Bat flew out of the box and bit George Brett on the neck, was the way the joke goes, but it doesn't make any difference now anyway. I do think the Yankees could have been a little more gracious in the way they ended the controversy. I don't think it was nice to say to Brett, give him back his hemorrhoids, too. You see the picture of our Secretary of Agriculture? How many of you know his name? John Block is the United States Secretary of Agriculture, and apparently he's got a lot of money. He's a millionaire himself. But he wanted to prove that a family, an average family in this country, could eat on $58 a week and have a satisfactory diet. That might be true, I think, if they went to the racetrack and won the 6 picks. Where you have to pick 6 races. Bat came right out of the box. Okay, tonight. We have a good show tonight. We have Carrie Fisher with us tonight. And she is here. Carrie is here. Garry, of course, is here because Return of the Jedi has not been getting enough publicity. It's a big picture. We have Garry Shandling, who's a bright, funny young comedian. We are going to try to show tonight what actually happened in the presidential debate in 1980 between Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. There has been some controversy that Reagan was tipped off, had Carter's briefing book. Tonight we will look at that tape a little more closely, and you folks will be the judge. So thanks for coming, and we'll be back in just a minute. My first guest, I'm sure everybody in the world knows. She has played, I think, twice already, the Princess Leia, right?
Yes.
Kind of a feisty heroine in Return of the Jedi, and she did 2 earlier chapters of that. So this is her 3rd time. Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, and now Return of the Jedi. This is her first appearance with her. With her.
The audience is right.
The audience is right. I'm losing my speech, and the lady said I cannot hear anymore. This is a very cruel crowd we have here tonight. They are really out to get us.
This is the first time she's ever been with us.
Yes.
I'd like to make that clear.
Okay. Would you go? Well, would you? Here's Carrie Fisher.
Carry the little
what?
Footstool, I think.
We have a little. Don't. Oh, you see that just comes right out there.
Yeah, thank you.
It's called our Princess Footstool. I don't know what's happening with my speech this evening.
Well,
Everything seems to be coming out garbled. You ever have days like that when you start
I
to?
hope it's not tonight, but yes, I do have days like that.
You start to say something, and you're either thinking ahead. What do they call that? There's a word for that.
Making a big mistake.
No, I had it a lot with some of the science fiction talk. We had to say, I
the
placed
dialogue.
information vital to the survival of the rebellion of the memory system of this R2 unit.
Give me that again now. That's not easy. I have some.
I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion of the memory of this R2 unit.
That's murder.
Yeah.
What happens? What happens? I think very often, whether it's television or movies, once you are conscious that it is almost impossible to get it because it starts to get funny. Now
Well,
you
you
try to
just-
get straight and serious, and it just goes.
We would have long speeches. That was part of the hologram speech. And
Right.
it just, you feel like you're just humiliated. And it's over and over and over. And it's just, you'll never get this bucket of waltz past. You'll never get that bucket of waltz past that blockade. You'll never get,
Cut.
you know, it's just,
Again.
Yeah.
You see in motion pictures, though, we can't stop.
Oh,
and
no,
do
you
it.
mean everyone's going to see this?
This is going
I
out.
get to do it over
This
again.
goes out just as it is. You told me, you were said we've not. I've got too much pine tar in my throat. I had two questions in mind. I was going to say we had not met before, and then I was changing the question to say I saw you. Of course, I saw you were sitting in a chair in makeup, and you said, "I'm trying not to be nervous." I said, "Why would you be nervous on this show?" This is easy.
I've never been on this show, and
Yeah.
I do get nervous. I don't know what I'm going to say, and I think I'm going to go.
Yeah, don't worry about it. But we did meet, I understand, some years ago in Las Vegas.
Yes, but I think I was about 13 years old, and I just used to try and hide in Las Vegas. I don't think it's appropriate to be in Las Vegas at 13. You don't really know what to do. I never did it. The only thing I could figure out to do...
Was your mother working there at the time?
Yeah, and I was in her act.
We probably should establish that you are the child of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, right?
I guess we should establish that.
Well,
Let's get it over with.
well, the people might not remember when you say I was working there. Your mother was
Yes.
working there.
So I was working in a nightclub act, and I was 13, so there's not much for you to do. You can't gamble, so I would try and think up things to do. So page people by the pool. Adolf Hitler, please. Mr. Hitler, please.
You're kidding.
Well, you're 13. You want to make Greta Garbo, and you get people looking around. I mean,
Page
you
people that are
work there.
gone.
What do you do to make it interesting?
Well, I was asleep most of the day. How come you would be working in a nightclub act at age 13? Was that allowed? You have to get some kind of special waiver
I
or
guess
what?
so. Unless, if it wasn't, I'm sure in trouble now. But yes, I worked from 13 to 16 in Las Vegas
Right.
as part of my mother's act.
Right. What'd you do in the show?
I sang and flung my chords around and so on.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. What else did you do to kill the time in Vegas? You get on page people?
I page people. Well, you do things like give surprise parties for people whose birthday it wasn't. Then it's really a surprise. They start singing along, and suddenly the cake comes toward them, and they start to get,
And it's not their birthday?
No, that's the best surprise party you can give to someone.
You have a weird sense of humor. I like that. Was it, when you grew up, of course, you have both parents are in entertainment business. The average child would look at that from afar and say, gee, that must be glamorous. But when you're there, you're not conscious of it at the time. You're just the child of two people who happen to be in the entertainment business. But did you know that you were in some kind of glamorous business?
Not until I started watching Father Knows Best and stuff, and I thought, now, those guys, Mom doesn't come home on that show and wash body makeup off and wear sequins and take a wig off and things like that, and something's off here. But I went to school with a lot of other kids that did the same thing. But, I mean, there was Mom, Mrs. Anderson, making a roast, and my mom was, flinging a mic cord, and...
Yeah. So to you, it was kind of normal until you...
It was normal for me, but then at about 16, I went,
Yeah. This isn't quite right?
Yeah, this is, I thought everybody had movie star parents.
Living your own fantasy.
Yeah.
After this commercial, Fred, we shall do it, and we're coming right back. So stay tuned. That's all I can think. We are back. Merchandising. We're talking with Carrie Fisher. Who did you hang out with as kids? Who were some of the other kids? Were they also children of movie stars?
It would be studio heads,
Yeah.
children, and, Dean Martin's children, and it would be like that.
Just normal, everyday kids?
Just all here, regular, yeah.
Somebody told me you were not allowed to get dirty.
No, we were photographed a lot.
What?
We were allowed sort of once a week. We were let loose on the gutter, and then we could get dirty, which is a big thrill for us. It's one of the reasons I went into show business was I visited the set and watched my mother fall in mud and stuff, and I thought, well, there's a way to do it.
But as a child, because of the demands of the pictures all the time, they would...
Yeah, there are more photographs of me, and I had a horror of it. I grew up on a movie star map.
Right.
I mean,
No, I didn't, though. It's not as a child.
But, I guess there is I could get traumatized by it if it's still photographs and those light bulbs going off.
Does it still bother you when the press shows up?
Not as much, but I mean, I was in Modern Screen at 2 hours old, and it wasn't even a good picture.
You were aware that they didn't get your right side at 2 hours
good
old?
angle, you know.
Good angle at 2 hours old. Now, you're in this picture, Return of the Jedi. You've done Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. It's become a big business, these pictures. How much has this picture made so far? I keep reading every day. Something like $200 million already.
So, yeah.
And will probably be one of the biggest grossing pictures of all times. And somebody said you felt a little awkward coming here to talk about this picture because it doesn't need a lot of help.
I was going to bring a clip of another film, so because I just thought, well, you know.
I always ask people what's the worst picture they ever made. I don't know why. Maybe it's just
What's the worst picture?
the worst picture you're ever in.
Usually for me, it's when the experience of making it isn't
Right.
so much fun. I didn't have that much fun making Under the Rainbow.
Yes. Now, when you do pictures like Star Wars and so forth, you don't see everything that's going on around you, do you? Because a lot of that stuff is done later.
No, most
special
of it.
effects.
So they just say there's going to be a giant, horrible monster with mucus falling from its face. And, you just do that.
That's got to be a little difficult because
I started doing the films when I was 19 years old, so
Right.
it's sort of like that's one of my specialties.
it's reacting to.
It's something that's not there. I have trouble reacting to things that are there now. I'm so used to reacting to things that aren't there. Johnny.
I understand. I'm reacting now to things that aren't there. Yes. We have a film clip. Where does this take place in the picture?
Well, I think this is with one of the Ewoks, which are the sort of teddy bear people that also can kill stormtroopers. Effective teddy bears.
You have to buy the premise. Okay, roll it. Those of you who have seen the picture will know the scene.
Cut it out. I'm not going to hurt you. Oh. Come on, sit down. I promise I won't hurt you. Now come here. No. All right. You want something to eat? That's right. Come on. Hmm?
Remarkable. Well, the beginning of Star Wars when you're 19, are you afraid you might get typecast as Princess Leia?
Well, I figure if that happens, I can just go on playing princesses. I can do Princess Margaret in the movie of the week. And
Princess Di, just keep going on?
Princess Di.
They probably know you all over the world, don't they? Because, all these pictures now are almost in worldwide distribution.
Well, as Princess Leia, if I went around with that silly hat or walked
You'd be
around with a
recognized.
little furry creature,
Except here in Hollywood.
No, then they wouldn't bother me.
No, they just a couple of people out for a stroll. We have to take a break? All right, we take a break, then we're going to come back for the inside story of the Carter-Reagan debate. Right after that. As you know, for some weeks there's been a lot of controversy in the media about the presidential debate of 1980 between then-President Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. And there have been allegations made, and apparently it happened, that somebody from the Carter staff at that time made available to Reagan aides Carter's briefing book. So therefore, Reagan was better able to know Carter's strategy in the debate and anticipate his questions. We thought it'd be interesting to go back and look at that original tape of the debate to see if there was really anything we could pick up that you didn't see the first time.
Johnny, is there anything special we should look for in this?
No, I don't think so. It's pretty self-explanatory. So we'll show you a small portion of the Reagan-Carter presidential debate of 1980 and see if you can see if there's anything going on.
Next Tuesday is Election Day. Tonight, voters will have an opportunity to see and hear the major party candidates for the presidency state their views in a presidential debate. The League of Women Voters is pleased to welcome to the Cleveland, Ohio Convention Center Music Hall President Jimmy Carter, the Democratic Party's candidate for re-election to the presidency, and Governor Ronald Reagan of California, the Republican Party's candidate for the presidency. The questions will be posed by a panel of these distinguished journalists. The ground rules, as agreed to by you gentlemen, are these. Each panelist will ask a question to the candidate. The candidate will have 30 seconds to respond. The other candidate will then have an opportunity for rebuttal if he chooses. Also, the candidates are not permitted to bring prepared notes to the podium. Now, based on a toss of the coin, President Carter will respond to the first question.
Mr. President, what steps would you take in a second administration to bolster the economy?
Well, as you know, the new economic revitalization program that we have in mind would result in tax credits which would let business invest in new tools and factories to create even more jobs, about 1 million in the next 2 years. Additionally, I'm prepared tonight to unveil a new program which my advisors and I have been working on in complete secrecy, and this program will create 900,000 new jobs for young people.
Well, I believe your secret program calls for 700,000 new jobs.
No, that's 900,000 new jobs.
Well, I'm sorry, your nines look like sevens.
In addition, last night in a closed-door session with my top economic advisors, we projected that the inflation rate will be reduced to 3%.
Well, there you go again. It's 8%.
No, it's 3%.
Well, your threes look like eights, your nines look like sevens, and your threes look like eights. Now, ask yourself, America's got a president with poor penmanship. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Governor Reagan, if you were president, how would you deal with the Russian military buildup in Afghanistan?
Well, it's very difficult for me to answer that question because, naturally, I'm not privy to classified intelligence information as a sitting president. So, maybe that question should be addressed to Mr. Carter.
President Carter.
In regard to Afghanistan, the top secret information I have received in my latest confidential military briefings indicates that they have over 4 Russian divisions, and just yesterday these troops are being reinforced with 2 armored divisions and 5 artillery battalions, not counting the 7 squadrons of air support, or the division of paratroopers massed on the border.
Speaking of that, Mr. President, do you have a plan to rescue our hostages in Iran?
Yes, we certainly do, but as you can understand, it's a delicate matter, and I'm not at liberty to divulge it at this time.
Helicopter raid.
Mr. Reagan, your critics have said that as president, you might too quickly resort to the use of nuclear weapons to settle a conflict.
Well, I had a discussion about nuclear weapons the other day with my daughter Amy. And I told her a story about when I was a peanut farmer in Georgia with my wife Rosalind.
Governor Reagan, peanut farmer in Georgia? And your wife Rosalind?
Well, I played a peanut farmer with Rosalind Russell. Had a great love scene. That Rosalind could kiss like a nuclear bomb. I hope that answers your questions about the all-important nuclear race.
Mr. Carter, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Mr. Reagan directly?
Well, yes, he's got 3. And the answers are yes, no, and Jockey Brand.
He answered the question even before I asked him.
Well, Nancy says I'm psychic, and so does George Will. God bless you.
That's you. Gentlemen, it's time for a brief summation. President Carter.
I'd like to say that Mr. Reagan has demonstrated he has no viable plan for running the country and no understanding about what I've said tonight.
Well, that's not true. I have a very clear Xerox or understanding of what you said.
In closing, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for staging this debate. I'd like to thank the members of my staff for helping me to prepare.
Well, I'd also like to thank the members of your staff for helping me to prepare.
I guess you have to draw your own conclusions now that we've seen the
I saw a
debate.
couple of things looked a little funny.
Possibly he might have had some advance information. I don't know. You know, when we did that, we had to tape that on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. And it's similar to what you do in the pictures. You're reacting to something that is not there. We had to do Carter first, and then leave room, looking at nothing, reacting to nothing, to somebody reading the lines. Then the second day, what you do, you take the tape that you've done of Carter, then you stand at the podium and react to what you're hearing on that tape, and then the panel was all done separately, and it was all cut and put together. Our director, Bobby Quinn. Who's the tape editor on that, Bobby? I work with you.
Skip Hornbrook.
You did a wonderful job. You put it together beautifully. And I want to thank the writers, Harry Blake, Bob Sinclair, and Sandy of our makeup staff for doing all the wonderful makeup. That was fun. You think so? Fred, you know the president pretty well. Do you think he'd like a copy of that?
If he calls, I'll send it.
Yeah, if Kissinger shows up, give him the tape. Take a break? Take a break. We'll be right back. We're back. There we go. Okay, my next guest. Garry Shandling is here tonight. He is one of the brighter young comedians that's emerged in the past several years. He is currently appearing at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles with Donna Summer. And he's going to be opening for Joan Rivers at the Oakdale Music Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut, August 5th and 7th. And then he's going to tour with Melissa Manchester for a week starting August the 8th. Would you welcome Garry Shandling? Garry?
Well, thank you, sir. I'm happy to be here. How many of you have seen me before? Applaud. People who've seen me before. Great. Well, great. There goes that material. No, actually, I write every day, and I keep my material fresh, so it's all right. So, what do you think about this Watergate thing? Boy, that was... I don't talk much about current events because I don't get the newspaper anymore because my neighbor just moved, and I have a new house. I'm a homeowner, which is very weird, but it's great because I can decorate it the way I want to, not like my folks. You know, my folks have a bowl of waxed fruit on their coffee table. I guess this is in case some mannequins come over. I'm not eating this junk. I just saw my folks, and my dad gets grosser each year. I don't know is your dad like that? I'm talking to my dad. He'll take his car keys out of his pocket and stick them in his ear. You know? And I'm going, are you starting your head or what, Dad? He said, I must be, son. I'm backfiring here. And then he wears this summer outfit now. Does your dad have the summer outfit? Plaid golf cap, white tank top T-shirt, plaid Bermuda shorts. He looks like a thermos, basically, from a distance. I bought him a pair of bikini underwear for Father's Day. I swear to you, it's gross. I realize you don't want to see your dad in bikini underwear. Am I right? He thinks he looks like John Travolta in these things. He looks like Ed Asner, basically. You know, it's great. They don't even fit him. I'm going, both legs have to go in there, Dad. You want to see your dad in boxer shorts. That's a dad's uniform, am I right? The old loose ones where he turns quick, but they stay right where they are. And they get higher each year. It's like the rings on a tree. You can tell how old your dad is by where the elastic band mark. It's a weird... He's a funny man. He likes to hunt, but he won't use a gun or a rifle, so he takes the Buick down to a deer crossing and waits. You know? This is a good spot, son. You know, he's got a scope on the dashboard of the car. He won't have guns or rifles in the house. One time someone broke in and he yelled, "Someone's in the house! Get the car!" So I have this new house. I have moths in my house. I have actually holes in my underwear from moths. I mean, you would think there would be certain garments, even moths wouldn't eat. You would think they would go underwear. No, give it to Mikey. Well, how do they get in the drawer? Do they open the drawer? Has anyone ever seen this happen? Do they all get on the handle and flap real hard? What's going on there? So anyway, I'm happy. I'm like getting older. I'm still single. Those of you who have seen me before know this is like a condition, basically. I did go out. This is great. I went out with Miss Georgia recently. Actually, former Miss Georgia. But, all right, it was George Foreman. But, what's the difference? So no, this is a true story. I met Miss Georgia at the Miss America contest. I swear to you, and she wore her crown on our date. I mean, I'm serious, and people are looking at us going, is this chick eating too much margarine or what? And she's sitting on the hood of the car waving at people. You know, I'm going, get in the car. And so we go, I'm telling you all about my life. So we go to the movies, right? Now, I always embarrass myself with the movies. This is true. When I save a seat for somebody, I hang my jacket up on their chair, so it looks like someone's sitting there, right? You don't have to be assertive. Am I right? It's great. So last week, 8 friends of mine said, go down, save our seats for us, right? So I'm sitting there nude, right? And, you know, people are coming up to me going, is that seat with the underwear taken? I said, yeah. He said, oh, you have moths. I said, yeah, do you know how they get in the drawer? So here's the good part. So I get her home, right? So we go home, and there's always that sexual tension when you're dating, right? I mean, I think I've heard every excuse for a woman not going to bed with me. I remember this one girl actually said, look, not with this Falkland Island thing. I said, that was over a year ago. She said, I haven't gotten over it yet. I said, well, I can understand that, Mrs. Thatcher. I can understand that. So, actually, I'm great in bed. No, I never fall out. I have guardrails. I have a hospital bed, basically. I have a mirror above my bed, and on it says, objects are larger than they appear. But there's that awkwardness, so you go out, right? So you're there with the girl, and you don't know whether to make the move. You guys know what I mean. And the woman never gives you a signal, right? And you need a clear signal. I need a woman with flashlights going.
That's funny stuff, Garry.
Good, Garry.
That's very funny stuff.
Thanks.
You brought up a good observation there. Why do they put rear view mirrors on cars that say objects may be closer than they appear? What good is that when you're driving?
I mean, you got to fly there.
If you think it's 100 feet back and it's 10 feet off your...
Yeah, it's scary. If you see a big, like, Mack truck, you probably figure, it's a Volkswagen behind it. So I'll cut them off. I don't care. So how's it like being single?
Oh, it's about... Well, you should know. You should know.
No, it's hard meeting new women. I'm happy to meet you. Yeah. Your parents are Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. Maybe you know my folks, Irv and Muriel Shandling.
Irv and Muriel Shandling? Irv and Muriel Shandling, huh? They moved around pretty good out here in the street. Not a pretty sight, huh?
Can you picture your parents making love? Ooh, that's a horrible... Right. Not you specifically.
Of course, I understand.
No, it's hard to meet new women. I don't like parties, really. Right. It's to the point now, where if I'm not invited, I don't even go. And, I have the...
How about singles bars?
I don't like bars because the guy always has to go on a limb. I wish women would approach guys more because we're easy, basically. I mean... We're tramps, basically. All right. No, I mean, women should approach guys. I mean, if a woman says, come on, we're going back to my house, we're not going to go, gee, I don't know. I'm retaining water, and I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'll just go on. Yeah,
But here's a fake phone number. Give me a call. I just got one of those new cordless remote phones, right? So I can be rejected up to 700 feet from my house. No, that's okay. I'm in the pool. No, my mother used to fix me up with girls. That was interesting. She used to say, you gotta meet this girl. She's big boned.
Big bone.
Oh, is she a brontosaurus, Mom? Then my mother would say, no, she's got a complexion like ivory, right? So I'd go, oh, great, I got a big woman with tusks. That's great. But the key phrase she always said, this is true, is, well, she's pretty in her own way. You know, I used to say, well, then put her with her own kind.
All the girls like it.
Chào cả mọi người. Và hôm nay bên em lại về một chiếc xe VinFast Lux A 2.0. Chiếc xe mang thương hiệu Việt Nam. Và đây là những chiếc xe mà phân khúc, nói chung là phân khúc D rồi. Rất là chất, rất là dài. Con này là thương hiệu Việt Nam và rất là chất nhé. Turbo 2.0. Xe này rất là đẹp, khung gầm BMW, thương hiệu Việt Nam, VinFast. Bạn nhìn thấy hệ thống đèn, tất cả các hệ thống như nốp, la răng của nó nhìn rất là chất. Thông thường thì tất cả những dòng xe của VinFast thì nếu cùng phân khúc thì luôn luôn là lốp nó to hơn lốp của các dòng khác. Đi rất là đầm chắc, khung gầm BMW. Con này thì nó hơi đen một chút, là 4-5 tháng trước thì nó cũng đã bị tham gia vào cuộc thi bơi nội. Vì vậy là sẽ có một mức giá rẻ cho mọi người. Và con này thì phiên bản màu trắng rất là đẹp và thanh lịch. Đấy, VinFast. Các bạn có thể thấy rằng là nhìn nó rất là cân, rất là đẹp. Nó A2.0 Turbo. Hệ thống đèn, nhưng mà cái dòng của VinFast này thì thông thường đèn nó hơi bị tối, nên thông thường người ta sẽ độ đèn. Và con này đã độ rồi mọi người nhé. Đấy. Xe thì cũng không có gì phải bàn vì nó rất là chất. Mọi thứ của em nó thực sự rất chất luôn. Mọi người cứ đến trực tiếp xem xe đi thử, cũng như là kiểm tra xem máy móc xem là bên em xử lý về bơi nội như vậy thì đã được hay chưa. Nếu mà cảm thấy mà nó không còn zin thì thôi. Còn nếu mà với mức giá rẻ mà các bạn chốt được thì chốt. Thế thôi. Đấy. Nội thất bên trong thì nói chung bên em xử lý rất là ok rồi, không có mùi đâu. Đấy, da vô lăng đã được bọc, cần số kiểu BMW, màn hình thì các bạn thấy rất là dài, da ghế rất là đẹp. Đấy. Mọi thứ của em nó phanh tay điện tử, da nội thất còn rất là ok. Hàng ghế sau thì điều hòa sau, da ghế còn rất là mới. Đấy, tổng thể chiếc xe thì cũng không phải bàn quá nhiều rồi, đẹp. Và bên em thì đã khử mùi rồi. Thông thường bơi nội thì nó có mùi, nhưng mà bên em thì đã xử lý rất là gọn ghẽ những cái vấn đề này. Bên em chuyên cái dòng này rồi, chuyên những cái dòng bơi nội rồi. Đấy. Xe rất là chất luôn, đèn hậu nhìn rất là chất. Mỗi tội là nó hơi dài, thật sự là xe nó hơi dài nên là thành ra là hơi mệt khi chúng ta quay đầu. Giống như Mercedes thì nó có quay đánh giá chụp sau thì nó rất là ok, nhưng mà những dòng này bây giờ không có thì nó dài quá. Đấy mọi người nhé. Xe thì cũng không phải bàn quá nhiều, và bên em thì không nhận cọc trước. Các bạn cứ đến trực tiếp xem xe, đi thử, kiểm tra máy móc, tùy thợ thuyền đến check. Tùy em báo luôn là xe bị lỗi rồi, đúng không? Đơn giản vậy thôi. Vì vậy là các bạn chấp nhận được thì các bạn bảo các bạn chốt thì mấy cái giá tiền em báo thì được thì chúng ta giao dịch, còn không thì thôi. Vì là cái xe nó đã bị bơi nội rồi thì mà giá trị đã phải mất đi một nửa rồi. Vì vậy là giá nó rất là rẻ rồi, mọi người không nên mặc cả, cũng như là nói chung là nó đều tiền nào của đó. Nếu mà ví dụ là những con này mà xe còn ngon thì chắc chắn là trên 600 hoặc có thể hơn, nhưng mà nó đã bơi nội rồi thì chắc chắn là giá sẽ rất là rẻ. Đấy. Vì vậy là chúng ta không nên so sánh giá làm cái gì. Xe nội giá rẻ, xe đẹp giá nó cao. Đấy. Chúng ta xem có chấp nhận được không. Nội như thế chấp nhận được thì chúng ta chốt, nếu không chấp nhận được thì các bạn đi mua xe khác. Không phải là có nhiều đây, bên em đã giao luôn là xe nội rồi, đúng không? Rất đơn giản, dễ hiểu, đơn giản thế thôi. Và chiếc xe này bên em giao bán được mức giá là 429 triệu cho một chiếc xe bơi nội và không mặc cả. Giá trị này đã rẻ hơn rất nhiều so với giá thị trường. Ai mua liên hệ sớm với em. Và xin chào tất cả mọi người.
Thank you.